was? Camera. The fuck? Why is everything dying? Just in time for me to be starting streaming. Why? Why on earth has my camera fucking died? Of course, just in time for me to be starting streaming, the camera has goddamn died. There we go. I got the camera back. Everything's fine. The camera is knocked askew. Quite heavily askew, actually. There we go. I'm gonna try to keep the controller away from the camera because it is really goddamn bright. And I don't want to blind everyone. Just making sure everything is set up correctly and all things are good before we get this ball rolling. Why does that camera still seem off? Probably because it is. Let's try that angle. Makes the camera look real dumb, but you know what? It's probably for the best. So now it's a bit far. Hell with it. It does not matter. The camera just needs to exist. I'm not fussed about it looking amazing. Because it's a cheap camera. It's not like it's going to ever impress anyone. Nor am I ever going to impress anyone. Okay, let me just double check what's in the book, and then we'll start the first map. We've got Pillars of Flame, we've got 2 copies of Pan, Tools of Stone, Kobolds, Fighters, Rats, Goblins, Wolves. I'm not the happiest. Definitely not the happiest with what we've got in here, but, well, I'll make do. Till we can start unlocking some more cards. So, I should mirror the camera. Right quick. There we go. Because this way right is right and left is left. And it feels a little more natural when I look at chat, because it'll make me look like I'm looking at the gameplay. Feels a little weird being in Mirror World now, but it's fine. I think... Actually, I might have had it mirrored originally. And then I've now unmirrored it. I can't tell what's going on with anything anymore.
Goddess Culdcept, source of all worlds, foresees the future. One scepter will displace her as the source, and he will disrupt the entire universe. Congra knows the world he will appear in. It is Sultana, world of Sultan. Gemini's ambitions.
I don't know if I ever actually watched the whole opening for this game. I mean, that's not entirely true. If he was destroyed, that just would mean fate would have to intervene in Kaldra's behalf rather than having Golagon directly interfere. Yes, yes, you and your tiny cape. Okay. I don't believe I can skip the tutorial, so I'm gonna let Golagon explain how things work. Which, it'll save me a little bit of trouble in the interim anyway. Because pretty much, as described, it's Monopoly, except there's also monsters. I don't really like either of these places that I'm landing, but I'll go this way. Because I do have fire creatures in this deck, so I can make use of that. For now, I'm going to go ahead and put down the wolf. I don't really even need to think that much about this fight because Reverend kinda sucks. He's pretty bad. But he's also meant to be your tutorial fight, so he's kind of expected to be bad. And now the game is mocking me, but that's fine. Because as you generate a chain, the toll on each tile you have of that color will go up. Similar to actually having multiple pieces of a Monopoly. Now, the big advantage with this game as opposed to actual Monopoly is you can change the color of the tiles. I'm gonna go ahead and just drop the Tiger Beetle here because it's gonna be a throwaway location. Now, if this was a stronger AI and he had more money on hand, he probably would have been upgrading terrain there. Because you can, similar to putting houses down in Monopoly, you can upgrade the terrain you're standing on or terrain you've passed in order to make it cost more for people to land on, and if the element of the creature matches the element of the land, the creature will gain additional health. As you see there, you get paid every time you make it back to the castle. You generally want to, of course, make as many laps as you can without wasting precious time too much, because you do want to keep gathering territory rapidly as well. Now, the reason why Riveron's going to lose is because he's not upgrading any territory, even though he's now had 2 opportunities to do it. I'm going to go ahead and use Fly, because it'll give me 2 dice. Hopefully it'll actually mean I can make just another lap. Nope. The dice were not on my side. But I can... Yeah, he's now going to explain what I've already discussed. So we'll just go ahead and move on. This is the only one I've got that matches, so I'm going to go ahead and upgrade that. You can also swap creatures out and move them to a nearby tile. If, say, a tile was vacated that was upgraded, you could shift something into that location. And of course, there's the land transformation I was talking about. But we're going to just go ahead and take the dwarf straight up to level 3. Now, he'll have 30 more health, I want to say it was, in a fight, and of course, note how it will now cost them 128 magic if they lose. Because there is combat. You have to fight the opposing creature when you land on a tile in order to not pay the toll on that tile. If you win, you can take over the tile. If you lose, you gotta pay the piper. You generally don't want to lose if you can help it. There will be occasions where it will be valid to lose on purpose, though. Sprites are fucking annoying, so I'm just gonna blast that off the map right now. Just get out of here. Of course I land on the dwarf again. You just told me that, Gulligan. I can, however, level this up. I would have rather transformed the land here, but I spent too much money like a fool, so I can't actually afford to level that. I don't want to change him out either, and moving him wouldn't change anything, so I'm just going to leave that be. From what I recall, moving and exchanging doesn't cost anything. So he's attacking my giant rat with a giant rat. I don't have any equipment to influence this fight. I think I lose this because both have first strike, so his will still attack first. Yep. Oh well, that's fine. It doesn't really matter that we lost that spot. But there's your combat demonstration. Oh yeah, and things do stay injured when they get attacked, or when spells are thrown at them. So that's worth keeping in mind.
You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
May as well go ahead and occupy more space. Even if I don't gain an advantage on that terrain, I at the very least can block him from getting more than 2 tiles in that area. And that wall of stone is going to be quite a thing for him to have to deal with. Let's slow him down a bit. He'll now be forced to roll a 1. As you might expect, it is valid to use that on yourself as well. I saw his hand. I don't remember what was in his hand. But I don't think he had any actual equipment, so this dragonfly will most likely win the fight the same way his rat just beat mine. Because they both go first. Oh, he had armor, never mind. But he's an idiot and didn't use them. And of course, depending on the actual attack of a creature, there will be different combat animations. So now we got our chain back, which pushes our money a bit further up. Because similar to how your total value in Monopoly would be calculated, we have a total value here as well. We need to make it to 5,000 for this map in order to win. Each map will, of course, have a different total you need to reach. I have no advantage here, so I'm just going to go ahead and drop a neutral. And there is some strength to having a all-neutral deck. Because then you don't have to worry about where you're placing anything. But you will never gain an advantage either. I assume he's going to use equipment, though he's going to win because he's got a strength bonus from the creature nearby anyway. Bonk. That's another thing. If you have a tile surrounded, you will gain extra strength based on how many creatures you have next to the tile you're attacking. Oh, now I finally draw a weapon. Wouldn't have helped anyway in that particular instance. Now, if I was taking this fight a bit more seriously, I would have used the Holy Word 1 to force him to come to that tile on a trip around, but as you saw there, he landed there of his own volition, so it works out. We now have quite a bit of disposable income for this stage of the game. The unfortunate thing is we don't really have anything to spend that disposable income on. I have to assume he's planning on using something, or he just plans on fighting and losing. No, he just is planning to fight and lose. Okay, he's just weakening me, I guess. That's fine. Yeah, get used to seeing draws happen, too, because quite frequently that'll be a thing. Yeah, sure. Let's get rid of some of that equipment he's not using. I could have gotten rid of one of his fly spells, but I'm much happier seeing less of that whole ability to survive my attacks he's got going on there. He still has another suit of armor. If he uses that armor, I'm going to lose this fight. If he doesn't, I take away this another tile and get a chain of 3 here. I'm going to go ahead and risk it because I'm not going to lose much if I lose. Because I have so much money. That's what I figured. I'm pretty sure that only gives him 20 health, though, so I think I still win. Yes. I forgot to account for support myself there, so... I mathed it as I would lose if he used the armor, and then I realized afterwards that, no, I won no matter how that went. He's gonna be hard-pressed to kill that gas cloud, though, because everything that hits it does half damage. Yeah, and as it says there, your deck will shuffle if you run out of cards. You know what? Let's just fuck with him a bit. We can make him just roll another 1 and land on another of our tiles immediately. Speaking of landing on another tile immediately, we win this fight as well thanks to support. So, may as well just carry on taking away everything he owns. His... Oh, unless he uses that ring. I don't remember what that ring does. Ah, okay. The HP drain gave him more max health, too. Okay. I thought that's what that ring did, but I didn't remember whether it went over their max or not. That's fine. I lost 16 in money. That's fine. I might lose this fight. He doesn't have any weapons or anything, but... Actually, no, he has no support, so never mind. This should be fine. Beetle will be wounded, but he'll lose the kobold. Which, that's a thing. Even if your creature well, let me rephrase that. If your creature survives combat, it will return to your hand. If it does not survive combat, it's gone. I believe when the deck reshuffles, it'll come back. But that's about it. Both sides will get support in this fight. Yeah, but it's got 40 health. I'd have 10 support from my own wolf next door. He'd, of course, be getting 10 support towards his attack. I technically win this. I'm mostly thinking these through just to get back in the habit, rather than just blazing through this and then praying I can pull myself together properly later. But right now, he is kinda hosed. Don't get me wrong, he can come back from this, but it's not gonna be easy. And I certainly am not gonna make it easy. I would get a lower chain for water by changing the Wall of Stone's tile to green, but it basically guarantee he can't get in there. But instead I'm going to go ahead and just level up this dwarf too. Because he seems to like landing in this area, so let's just make sure he loses everything if he lands here. Or what say. He'll just take almost 700 off of his bank account if he lands there. Oh my god. Is he really setting himself up to land there? Not quite, okay. I think his intent was to try to fly past it, and then his roll didn't work out. That's probably what his AI was going for. We are a bit short on things to fight with. But I think Pan will be okay. Not that we need to worry about it anyway. Can I level this up further? I can. Come on. 3 or 4. 3 or 4. Sad. I was really pulling for it to go that way. He doesn't have a weapon or anything. He has enough support to kill my fighter, so I'll just use armor and we win. I don't want him knocking my chain down. And getting rid of skeletons that are in his hand will help us a bit anyway, because skeleton is, I want to say, the most powerful card he's got? At least the most directly powerful card. Woodfolk's good stuff. Speaking of, we're actually going to go ahead and swap in Pan for the goblin. Makes it a little more likely that he'll survive. Oh, of course he lands on the one tile that isn't guarded. You cheeky son of a bitch with your fancy hat. No, I'll use that next turn because I'm literally right about to get a reward.
Good luck to your next journey.
Oh, well, this is less than ideal. He's got 30 health. I want to say scroll attacks take creatures' actual max health into account and not any bonuses, but I don't remember if that's tile bonus as well, or if that's only equipment bonus that it ignores. Because I could either swing for 50, because I can use the Woodfolk and then use the Goblin as a support creature. Yeah, I think that's the better choice. Because I don't think he picked up any equipment to use against me on this one. Nope, he's got no equipment. Bonk. I don't remember if the support creature's consumed or not. I think it is. But that's fine. I'm basically just trying to continue shutting him down as much as possible. We almost have full map control, which is kind of hilarious. Oh no, he's going to slow me and make sure I can upgrade my own tiles. Oh no. And now he's going to fight Pan.
Goblin. Pan.
Which I'm not sure what he's up to with this idea. I have 50 health, he has 30 attack. He can only injure me, he can't even kill me. Bonk. Stretch. I mean, if he wants to just keep throwing cards away on losing fights, I'm fine with this. Oh, look, another pan. And let's go ahead and use mana. I think I'm gonna get like 150 or so from this. 250. Okay. I made more laps than I thought. Of the choices, I'm gonna level up the gas cloud because that is almost certainly not gonna get killed. So now he's got another 691 to watch out for. Which you will have to sell tiles you own, just like mortgaging property, if you end up in a situation where you can't afford the toll. 11 might bring him right back around. No, not quite. He is right in front of Death Alley again, though, which is fantastic. Oh yeah, right. The 1 to 3 spell lasts an extra turn. That's fine. Safe spot. Let's just protect that pan as well now. Oh yeah, you are certainly going to lose, Riven. Especially if you land there. Do I BM and add equipment on top of this? Because he's gonna have that lifesteal ring. But I think he still only does 30 to mine 90. Nah, it should be okay. Nope, he didn't use the ring because he knew it wasn't gonna do anything. I think that's the ending move there. I'm pretty sure he's definitely out of the game. Oh yeah, and if you go, I think it's over 500 toll, that's when that shakedown animation happens. Which is always pretty funny, but it's also real sad if you're the one getting shaken down. I'm gonna go ahead and land transformation this to make this more expensive. There we go. If this somehow lasts after or the next turn, and he comes around again, he's going to get bodied.
Good luck to your next journey.
Yes, let's attack the gas cloud. You cannot hurt. Brilliant. Like, I'm not even... I don't need to do anything. He literally can't hurt him. He'll do 10 damage, and then die. It's impressive how he thinks that's going to do something. Yeah, you missed a lot of things there, buddy.
You've got a reward.
And now the match is over.
You are the winner of this war.
Riven's real only skill is the fact that he can jump incredible distances.
The true winner is determined.
This animation will always happen when a game is over. And that is the cost of losing. You will vibrate for eternity. Yeah, that was pretty much decided from the word go. No need to save the replay data. Ooh, we've got a couple good things here. Is the ghoul, paralyzes things, and if it kills, it heals. But you gotta give up a card for it. Soul Collector's pretty fucking good, too. Tower Shield. Yeah, that gives you the same ability as if you were the gas cloud. That's pretty solid, too. I think that means it can permanently go up to 80 HP. I think that's how that one works. This is purely a defense creature. You do not want to use King Tortoise on offense. And of course, the Sorcerer gets an extra... a boost from scrolls. He always will crit with them. and he attacks as if he has a scroll attack. Which may not sound like much, but it's actually really powerful against certain creatures. No, you don't need to explain editing the book. I know how to do that. It's called select card, put card in deck, take out card that doesn't go in deck. I forget what fights are where, though. I feel like I usually go to Domwood first. Let's go to Malthusburg. Yeah, there we go. Now I can edit book. So I would like to get rid of... what was it that I wanted to remove? Oh, yeah, the tiger beetles can get the hell out of here. Give me the ghoul. Do I want the gargoyle? Oh yeah, the gargoyle's another one that does scroll attacks. I'm pretty sure. Actually, no. Its strength turns to 50 if it's defending, basically. If it's in place, as you would expect a gargoyle to be, then it will gain an advantage. I don't need 2 kobolds. We'll instead have the sorcerer. Let's go ahead and drop the goblins. And bring in the soul collector and the centaur. You don't necessarily want to have too many different elements on your setup. But having 1 or 2 to occupy a space that can block your opponent isn't a bad idea. Okay, I think I remember this board now. This one's not too bad. It's fairly simple. Because it's just a figure 8. And I don't believe our opponent here is that strong. She can be pretty rough, but I don't think it in this order will be that bad. Yeah, and as it says there, those profit tents are deck search. Didn't really want the soul collector right now. But may as well start as we mean to go on. Blast a card out of her hand. We don't want silence to happen. Because if she can block me from using creatures, that means I'm going to have to sit there and eat tolls. And we can't allow that. It doesn't actually matter where we're going because we can't place a creature right now because our only creature requires a sacrifice. Wait. Oh, right. I am a fool. I'm a fool, I'm a fool, I'm a fool. It doesn't require a creature sacrifice necessarily, you just have to throw away a card. But I'm gonna bide my time for the moment anyway. Because that's a pretty expensive card to put down, too. It can be a wiser choice to not jump straight into trying to take as many tiles as possible. I kind of regret not taking this tile now that she decided to jump straight on it, though.
Aim for the next fort.
Okay, now we'll put the Soul Collector down because it'll be at an advantage. And we'll go ahead and drop Magic Bolt for it. It's the least useful of the cards I have in my hand because I'm betting she's not going to have that much that'll die to Magic Bolt. Giving me a lot of Minotaurs there, game. Well, they're just a generally solid creature, so I guess I'll just park him there for now. And that worked out in my favor. He's already halfway paid for himself. Got a Wood Folk, so it makes sense for me to go this way. Put him down. Yeah, there's a Holy Word number spell for, I want to say, every number that can come up on the die. Including, I think, actually a Holy Word 0, where you just won't go anywhere. Real rude move, but I'm pretty sure it's a thing that you can do.
Aim for the castle.
That's actually really good. Give me a creature. Damn it. That's the problem with the Prophet, is you can only choose a type. You can't actually search your deck specifically for a card. So sometimes you just end up with exactly what you don't want.
Aim for the castle.
But it still helps to have the extra card either way. You know, as long as you don't arrive at the Prophet when you've already got a full hand. This is going to be a throwaway spot, so I'll just throw the Kobold there. Oh, come on, don't be like that. You're going to be like that. Okay, fair enough.
You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
Yeah, the big thing with this map is you can even just turn around immediately upon reaching the castle, if that would benefit you.
You've got a reward.
We can snatch up this tile in between here. Specifically, actually going to put the Minotaur there because we may get an opportunity where I can move the Minotaur onto a tile that's occupied to fight from advantage somewhere. Specifically, if I manage to take the tile on the other side of that Phoenix. It's a little early to be using mana, but it'll benefit me for now. God damn it. We'll go ahead and put the dwarf down because he's got good max health. Okay, I need to change position. Leg is falling asleep. That's better. Oh, I immediately got mana back anyway. I'm not going to use it again right now. You don't want to be sitting on too much money in your hands. Not necessarily, anyway. I don't remember what Dryads do. She is not particularly tough, but I remember she has equipment, so I'll go ahead and give him the longsword just in case. Yep, figured that was the right choice. I half expected her to use the carbuncle, because I think that would have actually won her the fight. But I think she gambled on me not using a weapon. So that knocked that chain out and gave us quite a bit. Now she's gonna try to murder my dwarf. Except she can't. See, the big difference between Selena and Riven is Riven doesn't understand how not to attack. Selena actually understands, hey, if I can't win this fight, I probably shouldn't waste my resources trying to fight it. In fact, let's reward that result by solidifying that gain straight away. Now, she may actually put up a decent fight. Depends on how things shake out. And as you might expect, Pillar of Flame can't be put on water. I'm not gonna bother contesting the water section too much right now, though. She doesn't have any water that I've seen anyway. So she's not reprioritizing it either. So it can just be used as a filler. Yeah, that will guarantee us a dice roll of 6. But she is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She is exactly 6 tiles away from our pan. Let's make her spend a pile of money. Good luck. Let's see, 5. That'll put me on that empty tile. And that's where the Pillar of Flame will live. Look at him, he's so happy. She does have a bunch of spears and shit that she might be able to use to deal with my pan, but I don't think it'll work out in her favor. Yeah, she knows better. She just did not take that on at all. Of note, I want to say based on who's in the lead, the music will change. I don't remember that for certain, though. Oh, that's perfect. There we go. More fire.
You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
And the best part is, since we cost her a ton of money, that sets her back a fair bit. Oh yeah, and the advantage to the Culdcept is it can't be targeted with magic. So I can only hit really the fighter or the phoenix, because hitting the woodfolk would be irrelevant. So I'm going to weaken the phoenix. Hitting the woodfolk is irrelevant because of the fact that it'll just use the support ability and put another creature in. She's got a lot of nasty stuff, though. She is being a fool by throwing away those spears, though. Spears are real useful. I would have thrown away the mace if I had to throw away an equipment card personally. Well, opportunity's knocking, and I ain't gonna refuse it. I generally prefer to spread the love as far as how much money I'm putting into tiles, but RNG is saying put money in this tile again and again, so I'm not going to oppose it. I am going to buff up the other one next to it now, though. Especially since she's heading straight for it. Oh, you want to be like that, huh? Now, she's actually made an error here. What she should have done, which she actually avoided it anyway, she should have used the Holy Word 3 on herself to ensure that she wouldn't have to worry about landing on my tiles. Because she then could have landed right next to them and then jumped over them pretty safely. Now she runs the risk of rolling a much more common number and ending up landing on those tiles and setting herself up for failure.
Discard your card.
I don't really want to lose any of this, but I have to. Goodbye, Pan. As nice as confusion is, it's not important.
Got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
Okay, at this point, let's buff up the gas cloud. I could buff up the Pillar of Flame, but since it's really limited in terms of what equipment I can use to protect it, it's not the best choice. And there she is on the pan again, getting knocked for 900 almost.
Don't have enough magic power.
Well, I think this fight's over. Because she's now mortgaging herself into the ground.
Discard your card.
Just throwing cards away. Doesn't matter. Let's get more money. This is completely pointless. But it was funny. What cards do I have? I know I've got a bunch of attack cards and such. I don't remember what she has. Yeah, because I've got a longsword, which will give me 30 more attack. Ghoul has 40. And I'd have 10 in support from the Minotaur. So that would be 70 against the Wounded Phoenix, which only has 30. I don't remember what armor and such she has in her hand, but I don't think that'll be enough to stop me. We're gonna sacrifice the leather armor. Now, I completely don't need to do this. This is completely superfluous that I'm doing this. But it never hurts to make absolutely sure that your opponent won't be able to turn things around before you get back to the end. It's a habit that completely does not matter at this stage of the game, but it's going to be an important habit to keep later on, because there are some nasty tricks that enemies can pull out at the end of a fight to really just chip your amounts down.
Got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
And of course, similar purpose, if you're playing against another actual player, they can really turn things on its head.
Aim for the next port.
Give me another spell. Perfect. And we'll just go ahead and sink her money into making this tile ridiculous.
Aim for the next port.
One moment, just checking something. Not sure why that was showing up as unread, but whatever. Doesn't matter. Quick bit of BM. Oh, Oh, and I... I have no idea how much of that was hearable, because I just realized I never moved my goddamn microphone down. To be with me. Oh boy. This is what happens when you get very little sleep and decided to stream anyway. I'm betting most of that probably was audible, because the meters weren't doing too badly. But either way. That is certainly a face to make in that situation, sure.
The true winner is determined.
Hopefully we'll keep getting good stuff from these. Yep, another one where this was basically a non-issue. What's funny is I remember having trouble with that match as a kid. Ooh, I don't remember this card. That might actually be useful. This one's real good because you can get a pile of money. That's good if you can ensure that you'll land there. If you're a water player, this is fantastic. If you're not, it's not necessarily important. This is something you desperately want to have if you're going all neutrals. I also realized I didn't do a mic check before I started this, so who knows if I sound normal at all. So give me 1 second, I'm gonna check that just for my own sanity. Okay. Just had to make sure. I've had at least one incident of it turning me into a chipmunk with this microphone, so I wanted to make sure it wasn't doing that right now. This one's real good if you're up against somebody who's using lots of walls and such, but otherwise not important. I don't really care that much for 90% of that. I don't remember what that metal does. I mean, Gemsect and Gemini would make sense. I do want that one upheaval spell, and I might take Camouflage. I'm still thinking about that. I'm not super big on the holy words that I've got, so I'll go ahead and get rid of those in favor of Upheaval. Then again, I've got Triumph as well. Let me take Triumph for now, and if we start getting to some of the maps I remember having issues with, I may swap in Camouflage. Because the big problem ends up being that your opponent has too much map control over the color you want to make use of. So you end up not being able to do a lot. Now we're going to Domwood. not everyone knows what a scepter is, and that's gonna be important now and then. I'm not sure that's the face that you need to be making when you're saying something like that. Because that looks more like a shocked or scared face than, this is what I'm telling you, rah. I don't know. Yeah, you know, just gotta show the camera the card every time. I mean, you won't really get more territory. I don't have territory to give you. If I remember right, the effects of the shrine are straight up random. Like, he says good or bad things, and he means it with that one. But the last time I fully played through this game probably was something on the order of 10 years ago. It was before I went to college. What's this got? Ooh. That's not something I can just blast. I don't really want to play that Dragonfly there, but I also don't want to get left behind on territory too hard. Yeah, and those shrines will only trigger if you actually step on them. He doesn't have an HP bonus, but I wasn't paying enough attention to what he had in his hand, so I don't know if he has any armor or not. And I don't really want to be throwing 86 away on a gamble, necessarily. He can have his 16 coins. And don't be surprised if I keep referring to money as different things every time, because I'm never going to keep that in my head. I could double down on magic bolting something, but I don't think that's that worthwhile to me. And just in the interest of keeping from having to discard things constantly, I am going to just throw the other magic bolt at this thing. By the time I get around to dealing with it, it will probably have healed from him getting to the fort, but it's only 20 coins, and it's better than if I threw a card away to hold on to it. That mostly works out in my favor, because that makes his mains even weaker. But it is a bit unfortunate that I also have a 5 health giant rat now. Next turn I'll use mana. I was just waiting till I got at least one lap under my belt. I believe you can turn off the chatter as well, but it's not that obtrusive, so I'm just gonna leave it alone. That's what I was hoping for, because now, as he heads towards it, he's got a real beefy Minotaur to worry about. Aww, so close, yet so far. Oh well. Can't blame a guy for trying. And I couldn't have used the holy word 6 to encourage it or anything. Nice. That helps him, but it helps me, I think, more? No, actually, he's got more creatures on the board. I think that'll matter for that. I have more creatures on the board, but he has more that benefit from it more. This is a gamble. And I don't think it's going to pay off, so I'm not going to do it. I was debating leveling it up so I can then convert it later as a surprise, but it wouldn't pan out, because more often than not, when I try tricks like that, the RNG tends to have the enemy land on it, and they will usually be prepared to kill it. You've got 40 health. I could bring you up to 50. The scroll attack won't work on it. Confusion might win me this fight. This is the point where fights start actually starting to matter a little bit, though. Now he has armor. Fuck. I don't think this is going to work out in our favor. Because he's going to have 70... and Confusion only does partial damage. Yeah. Close, but not quite. It was worth a try. Though I do believe he will stay confused, which might come in handy later. Oh no, my rat. It's bat versus rat. He's almost certainly gonna use a weapon. He won't be able to get any extra defense from any of his weapons, though, so if I use the mace and go first, I'll probably get this. Hey, Xeno. Thank you for the raid. How are you doing? I saw you were playing Apex earlier. How'd it go? It's always appreciated. Glad to hear it. Let's go ahead and heal that rat before it perishes in the next fight. Oh yeah, I do remember seeing a little bit of that before I went to work this morning. I'm just gonna let this one go. But yeah, to all those coming in with Xeno's raid, this is Culdcept, a PS2 game that is essentially Monopoly, but you have to actually fight over territory instead of letting capitalism reign over all. This is the 4th map, I believe. I've already lost count. Okay, we can't afford to use Upheaval right now, but Upheaval would be really helpful right about now.
Good luck to your next journey.
That's fine. It's appreciated either way. You too. It's always good to see you come by. Just put the wall of stone here for now.
Aim for the castle.
I want to do upheaval. I mean, I've got a 50-50 choice here. I can either change a wind or change a water. If he had an expensive territory of his element, I would actually flip that to make it harder for him to keep it. Because anything that shares an element with the territory it's on will gain health equal to the level of the territory times 10. So you generally want to rein that in when you can.
You've got a reward.
But that's also why I was so upset that he managed to avoid my Minotaur. Is in the current state of play, he has basically no way to deal with that Minotaur, so he would have lost all of his money. Would it help me to make him roll a 6? 3, 6, not really. He would just land on an empty territory. That wouldn't help me at all. That is incredibly unhelpful. Hey, Isman, how you doing?
Discard your card.
Always good to hear.
Aim for the next fort. Discard your card.
Don't need freeze. He doesn't really have any fire for me to get a bonus against. I could make him land on the dragonfly, but that wouldn't help me at all.
Aim for the castle.
I gotta be careful though. I don't have much money on hand right now.
Card.
But yeah, the reason why symbol value changing did not matter to me is there is no place on this map to use symbols. Symbols are essentially the stock market of this game. Okay, he's cursed, so he can't get toll value right now. So it doesn't matter if I land on any of his territory for a turn. We'll go ahead and put Pan here just to keep taking up more territory. I gotta keep pushing my value up to stay ahead of him. We can't really let the AI snowball. Not that the early AI snowballs that hard, but still good habit to stay in and try to keep ahead. Still boggles my mind a bit how I was losing to these characters when I was younger. So I'm not really doing anything that differently because I don't have that much different stuff available. I just must have been making that bad a set of choices. We're gonna get rid of his armor. Because as far as the tiles I'm concerned about, he can't, even with weapons, he can't break those. And that's more or less what I was expecting to have happen, is landing on that territory. So 30, 60... Yeah, that was actually the perfect time to have broken his armor. Now, the advantage to Woodfolk is I can use another creature card to grant its stats to the Woodfolk. So we're going to send the Pillar of Flame as a bit of an odd choice to support the tree. But that sorts that fight out. It is mildly unfortunate that I'm going to, of course, have something that does not match the tile there now. But now that we're taking up more red tiles, the Minotaur's value has now shot through the roof. But he's gonna have to fight the giant rat again. Which is actually a problem. Uh-oh. Yeah, because he's got 20 Wait a minute. Does the Roadrunner have first attack? Yeah, it does. Okay, I lost this one. Nothing to be done here. That's unfortunate. I knew I should have moved that rat out of there a long time ago. Because the rat's a neutral, so it didn't gain any health from being on a fire tile. Land on one of his again. Not gonna waste my time fighting that. If we could just get him to land on a high-value spot of mine, we'd be in business. Because then we can start getting him to mortgage some of his territory off. But it's just not lining up yet. So let's just spike the odds up a bit. Okay, so I can make him roll either a 6 or a 1 at any point. So if he positions himself where I want him, I can do something terrible. Ooh, actually, I think that's exactly where I needed him to land. I think that's exactly what we needed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, we can bankrupt him. Well, not bankrupt him, but we can really hurt him. Now, on his next turn, he'll roll a 6 and land right on the Minotaur. Do I have enough to make... No, I don't have enough to make the Minotaur scarier. Sad. Unless I can afford to... I can afford to transform the land, so I can make this a fire tile and make it more expensive that way. So did you hear about this series at all before or now? Because I know this is kind of not big outside of Japan. Oh, he just circled around. Sad. Because I want to say we only got this one and the DS game over here. Which is a pity. Ooh. And I'm assuming you have no means of getting more in the spot you're in right now. Because I know there are a couple places where you really can't back out of in any good way. Yeah, I'm too broke to do anything. Okay. Oh, okay, yeah, then you're pretty stuck on that one.
You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey. Discard your card. Aim for the castle. Discard your card.
I'm gonna give up the Holy Ward 1. Because I could force him to fight the Tree Man, but there wouldn't be much point to that. I would only get a tiny bit of money.
Aim for the next fort.
Yeah, I could probably take this. He is getting 20 extra health, so he's got 50. If I use the sword, that gives him 70. But if he's got any armor, then it's all for a wash. I don't remember what Exhume does. You're gonna have to refresh my memory on that one.
Discard your card.
But either way, good luck with the encounter, because that's probably not gonna be easy. Ah, okay. So you're thinking just kind of block things up a bit with the zombies and hope they take all the damage for you.
You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
Ooh, you cheeky bastard. He's gonna try to steal whatever I try to use for the dragonfly. Okay. Yeah, that'll end up doing a lot of work for you then. Wait. Wait. I think he's made a mistake here. He's relying on me using armor instead of a weapon. Because I'm pretty sure if I use my weapon, the weapon will trigger before the thief can steal it, and I kill the thief before he steals. If I'm wrong, I'm not losing much. Okay, no, the steal triggers first. Damn it. Okay, that's fine. I was dead either way on that one. And he's stolen a very low value territory from me. So, that is absolutely fine. He is well ahead of me in value now, though. So I desperately need to start turning this around. Yeah, his goblin's not gaining any buffs right now, so the dwarf should be able to take him. I feel like I'm gonna regret having used that sword incorrectly, though. Yeah, because he's got armor. God damn it. This is just gonna start going from bad to worse for a bit here. We won't lose the dwarf, thankfully, but it is gonna put us in a bit of a spot. Because we've just given him more money and wasted a bunch of money in the process.
Aim for the next port.
Yeah, Reaper Form is best used as a trump card rather than in an encounter you can otherwise use anything else for.
Good luck to your next journey.
Since I'm assuming you don't have that much that'll make that generate any faster, if there even is a way to make it generate much faster. Okay, he doesn't have any armor anymore. So I think I can take this one. Which will help.
Gas cloud. Goblin.
The offense.
But either way, what matters in the end is you manage to get through the encounter so you can come out the other side and get the resources you need.
Dragonfly. Wall of stone.
That sounds right that that would be the only way, but it's been a bit. Okay, he got rid of my wall of stone. That's fine. He spent more than I did on that, so that's a net positive for me, technically. Aside from his value continuing to go up. I mean, I can afford to level this, so I may as well spend it. Now I'm really hoping he lands here, because that will cripple him. But that's a lot to bank on. Oh, that's just mean. You took my $11. No. I'm not sure if that's high or low for where you're at.
Aim for the next fort.
Oh, not this shit again. Now, I don't know if the thief steals an item if he's already using an item. Okay, yeah, I'm unaffected if he's already got an item in his hands, so he has set himself up for failure by using an item. Because he otherwise could have deprived me from being able to protect myself.
The battle was drawn.
That'll cost him a bit. Alright, it's 200 that the shakedown animation is, not 500. Potentially. Really depends on when that one opened up. Because I do remember at least one of the optional areas being pretty rough. Okay. That's not unreasonable then, I don't think. But this is, of course, as usual, it seems for me, working off of a year or two's old memory, if not longer than that. Because I primarily played a Darksiders 2 before the Definitive Edition came out. I've been meaning to go finish it going through the improved version.
Got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
But it as many other things are just lost in the shuffle. So close to the amount we need, because I'm pretty sure this is a 6,000 map. Ooh, this could really go either way. I basically just need to do one more lap before he somehow pulls 1,500 out of his back pocket. Which may sound like a crazy number to suddenly pull, but we just did basically that, so it's a valid concern. You're gonna be there for a fair bit then, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot you're gonna have to do for that. But it is at least a very good game to be going a long time in. As long as you don't get tired of it. Just gonna land on all my high value territories. Really wish I had that Holy Word 1 right about now so I could have made him hit the 2k.
Good luck to your
That would have been funny.
Kobold. 10.
Just in case he's got something up his sleeve, I'll put on the armor. Yep. Okay. Yeah, all main and side quests make sense. I wasn't sure if it included all the talismans or not, but it makes sense. Oh, that's gonna help a lot. Is there anything that's missable in Darksiders 2? I genuinely can't remember. Like, permanently missable. I mean, it makes sense to do those as well. I don't remember if there's anything too crazy in any of them. No, I don't want to do any of that right now.
aim for the next fort. Aim for the castle. Discard your card.
Because I feel like early on there might be a couple, but I also don't remember there being anything important early on. That's why I'm kind of on the fence with that one.
Aim for the castle.
Because I genuinely don't remember if you can actually go back to the start of the game at all or not. Whew. Unless we roll real poorly, we've just won this. Of course we rolled exactly what we needed to land on the castle. Okay, still no losses yet. Still 0 losses. That is a miracle. By now I would have walled at least once. Meanwhile, his backup dancers continue to do what some may consider a dance.
The true winner is determined.
Okay. That one was really close. Ooh. Those are both really good. I won't be using that because I'm not using wind. That one's pretty good too. Yeah, I knew you could travel back. I just couldn't remember if the very first area was part of the available areas to go back to or not. I may have been thinking of something from one of the other two. Or I may have just not gotten just quite the right part of the game where it showed me that I could go back there. Yeah. That rings a bell. I wouldn't assume there's anything too vital there, but... Okay. Into those still. Didn't get anything new here. Was there a spell I wanted? No, I didn't even get a new spell. I want the Thief's Glove at a minimum. Probably the Ring of the Succubus as well. Get rid of that. Okay. So not technically needed for 100% unless you're doing a new game plus 100%. Okay. I'm gonna start getting rid of these giant rats because they're stopping being useful. Of course. I mean, I guess you would go with a route of 100%ing it twice, but is there really that much different when you do it New Game Plus to make it actually unique for getting 100% a second time? How does a staff get tired? You're just made out of wood. Well, of course, they need to get buffed a little bit for it to be reasonable. Otherwise, on New Game Plus, it'd probably just be a steamroll in your favor. Now, this is the first opponent I'm genuinely worried about losing to. So I'm pretty sure he's got a really nasty set of cards. And this map's not really favorable to me. This is also where the AI stops holding back. Because they've been making some real questionable choices and doing a lot of things that make basically no sense. They're gonna stop doing a lot of that now. And since these areas are split, the chains don't carry over between areas. So it's also a lot harder to just build up a really nasty tile. Apocalyptic is the highest difficulty, right? There isn't one higher than that? You don't, like, gain an additional higher one? I think that's possible first go through, yeah. It might take a bit of doing for one of them, but I'm pretty sure it's possible.
Magic bolt.
I'm pretty sure it is the highest, unless there is some real hidden secret difficulty. But I've certainly never heard of any other difficulty.
Aim for the castle. Aim for the castle.
Of course, I'm immediately landing on that. Okay. It's got 40 health. I could almost certainly take it with the woodfolk. Do I want to? No, not really. That tile won't help me. It'd just be a huge expense for no benefit. Well, aside from snuffing out his chain ahead of time, but he's gonna be over here anyway. We're both gonna be in the same boat of having to scrape things together to get any real chains going for a bit. I'm going to put the centaur down as a temporary. Pirates are real dangerous. I'm gonna buy myself a little bit of time by slowing him down. I could set it up so that he would potentially land on something of mine, but that didn't really work out on the last map that well.
You've got a reward.
And that shrine might do something terrible to him, so
Next journey.
there's good potential for this to be funny, at least. I'm gonna bank on the Pillar of Flame for the moment. The Manticore will overall be stronger, but I need to keep that Pillar of Flame in play for the moment. This game has some fantastic art, like that guy being chased by ostriches as well. And of course he hard countered my spell, which did not work out in his favor entirely, because now he landed on the Wall of Flame. I could not have asked for better luck on that one. And I can't claim judgment on that, even though I knew he had haste. I couldn't guarantee he was going to land on that tile.
Aim for the castle.
I need to keep competing with him on each of his sections, too, so he doesn't get too much going. Huh. He's just coming straight at me? Okay. I wasn't expecting that. Especially since I don't think he had an item or anything. So he's just thrown money to the wind. Oh no, I definitely miscalculated on that one. Oh, that's unfortunate. I must have glazed over for a second there and missed that sword in his hand. Oh, that's such a shame. Because if I had gotten the fighter to hit him, I would have knocked a bunch of money out of him on top of him losing that fight. And that would have helped tip the scale. But such is life. I really shouldn't have gambled the Thief Glove on such a mediocre fight anyway.
Got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
Okay, we've got the Succubus Ring. That could be pivotal in some of these fights. This damn fish again. It's got 50 health. Yeah, I can't win that fight, so I'm gonna have to just fork over 60. God, Reza. You and your shenanigans.
Lizard Man.
Yeah, in the first few maps, I made myself look kind of clever, but this is where it's all gonna start falling apart a bit. We're just gonna shut this attack down straight away. What? Or I have screwed up priority again. Joyous day. I forgot that it only sets their attack to 0 after you hit them. And he already had first attack because he was accounting for me using that. Just on a roll today. On a roll. Let this be a lesson. Don't try to do strategy games when you've been up since 6 a.m.
You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey. Aim for the castle.
Thankfully, we're not hooped yet. I've not made any pivotal errors, just some real silly mistakes. He's really pushing that lizard man. He threw a growth spell on him, now he's throwing vitality on him. And then I'm never going to land on that tile the entire game. Totally not saying that from experience, having done that exact thing in multiplayer before. And then having no one else in the game land anywhere near the tile I was buffing to hell and gone. Which, this game does have multiplayer. It is a bit jank to get set up in this day and age, considering, you know, it's a PS2 game. But if you can arrange it, it's a good time. I do highly recommend playing a decent amount of the game so everyone has unique cards first, of course. Unless you just want everything to be a fair playing field. Because there are some really nasty cards in the game. Speaking as one who has been on the wrong end of them, because someone else had played more at the time. But there's usually a way around most problems of that type in this game, so I wouldn't count it as too big an issue. This is why Leo's a problem. He has buff spells and he knows how to use them, and he has a lot of movement, as well as just generally decent cards. He is definitely the point where the opposing books actually start to become competent, instead of just a bunch of themed stuff thrown together in the hopes that it works.
Good luck to your next journey.
Because he'll actually make use of chains properly. He'll, as we've seen, make his creatures quite dangerous to me. Ooh. That's a problem. What? That is not what that said. Well, of course. High crit numbers are always satisfying. I don't see how anyone wouldn't want that. That is not the roll I wanted. I might lose this one. I'm gonna need those swords. There's more than likely a way to time the dice so you get what you want frequently. But that is far and beyond what I would be bothering to do. Makes sense. If you're going fairly glass cannon, you need something between you and death, or you're just going to regret your life choices. Whether your minions end up actually taking any real damage, or they're just at least a distraction, either way, it's less damage you're taking. As long as you don't jump straight into the attacks they're throwing at the minions, of course. Then that's on you. Nice. It's unfortunate that that helps him too, but this will get me out of the hole. That's also good. So I've got a decent amount of cards in my hand for that to benefit from. So it's gonna have 6... Yeah, it's user's hand times 10 during battle. So it's gonna have 60-60. If I give it armor, it will go up. Yeah, we're gonna bank on the armor. I didn't know if he was gonna pull something out of his ass on that one. Yeah. There should be a couple good buffs available to you down the line. I don't think this play is going to work out in my favor, but it's not going to be a big loss if I do fail. And I need to start clearing some of these cards out of my hand, or I'm just going to sit here and discard until I run out of cards. Yeah, he had his armor. Damn it. I don't know why he didn't use any of that stuff on that last fight. Aside from this is a smarter AI, and I'm not paying enough attention. That's me throwing money into a hole again. It's a bad habit. I don't recommend just throwing money in a pit constantly. It really just doesn't go anywhere. That makes sense. Start counterbalancing things a little bit for you. The hell?
Aim for the castle.
Right. Keep it in a manageable number.
Discard your pawn.
I probably need an item.
Discard your pawn.
Not really what I'm looking for. That can just go away. I was hoping for one of my better weapons, not that one. Okay, we were starting to pull ahead of him.
Discard your pawn.
But this could easily turn right back on its head again at any moment.
Reward. Good luck to your next journey.
Yeah.
Discard your pawn.
You only really want to be aiming for being by yourself if you can set yourself up in such a way that you have the health to stand that. If you're getting dogpiled with a fragile build, you're just going to get run down.
Discard your pawn.
Either that or you'll just end up spending the whole time dodging and you'll be there twice as long for no good reason. Oof. That one I don't remember.
Discard your pawn. Aim for the castle.
I mean, we don't have water creatures to worry about with it too much, but still, nothing that lets him have more strength should be allowed to stay in his hand.
You've got a reward.
I'm gonna have to fight the Undyne now, though.
To your next journey.
He owns a few water tiles. That thing's gonna have a lot of health. But it only cost me 20. I'm just not gonna waste my time trying to fight the Undyne. Because I will not win that fight. Okay, good, good. Okay. So you just have mass life leech for a bit. I can see that would be very useful. Especially since you don't have to be directly attached to it in order to get that life, so you can hang back and get it back into fighting shape. Okay, I'm gonna stop banking on the 6. Fly just disappointed me a minute ago, but let's try it again. That's a much better roll.
You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
Okay, I don't need cure. Nothing of mine's injured. I'm just gonna play it safe and go this way, because I can buff this guy up. And hopefully he'll land on one of those two. Yeah, that's right. Get rid of your knights. I don't want to see any of those knights. Too many of my creatures are getting real high health at this point, so his knights would be very dangerous to me. That's exactly where I wanted to land, actually, because now I can put this stone wall down straight away. Not have to carry it around. That's a tough one. I think that'll really end up being a matter of which you end up enjoying more, because I think they're both applicable to what you want. And the goal was not 6,000. I thought it was. I think it might be 8 for this one. I'm not sure what he's up to, so I'm just gonna armor up and let this be. Turns out I didn't need to, but at least this way I don't have to worry about losing any actual health. And that'll definitely knock him back a bit. Yeah. I mean, I guess it could end up being a question of what you actually need help with more as well. Once you get to that point. I can get up to 70. It's got 60. I don't remember what's in his hand. I don't remember if he's got armor. That's a lot of money to lose, so I'm gonna risk it. I don't think this is gonna work out for me. The AI does have a bad habit of not accounting for support attacks, though. Yeah, he has armor. God damn it. Wait, he calculated wrong. No, I calculated wrong. Damn it. I forgot that my side had already counted up. So he just got all of his money back. So that was just a non-entity of a turn. Pretty much. I took a pile of money from him, he took a pile of money back, and now we're just right where we started again. Except I wasted a bunch of money. Though I think he wasted a bunch of money too. So, all in all, definitely a completely pointless turn. No. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can end up with a situation where Frenzy won't fully pay out either. Though Frenzy is probably more likely to pay out.
Aim for the castle.
And in some ways, I suppose Murder and Reaper Storm fill the same role to a degree. Aside from the fact that Murder will give you life back. Yeah, I'd have to attack with the Ghoul to get through the Sprite's protection. He has one other suit of armor. I remember him having a suit of chainmail, so if he puts it on the Sprite will have the same amount of health as I have attack. That might cause him to not bother. I gotta start dismantling his chains, so I'm gonna hope this works out. If he drew anything else, though, this is gonna backfire. And actually, yeah, I ended up with 80, so I do win this either way. And he can't neutralize me. Okay, so that's a decently pricey territory to take off his hands.
The offense defeated the enemy.
It doesn't help me specifically, but it weakens him. As to which one's more useful, that is definitely a hard one to really guarantee either way.
Gas cloud.
I'm just gonna have to let that one fly. Which, all he did was break the terrain bonus, so I don't even know why he bothered fighting that.
Defense.
Aside from, I guess he felt he had to. So that'll shake another 100 out of him. Yeah, there's some choices made here and there. Just be glad you haven't seen the melting animation for the cards yet. That gets really unique.
You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
Triumph.
Which, with what I'm using, I don't think we'll see that animation possibly at all. Well, there went some money because, you know, RNG said no more money for me.
Giant bat.
I think his AI might be going crazy. Because he's now just attacking every time he encounters something, even though he has no hope of winning. That setup will probably get you through the initial run. I don't know about the New Game Plus run.
For the castle.
I also don't remember if you have to allocate a point to one of those to get to something further along or not. Because if you don't, there may be more value in working those up more, and then coming back for that later. Definitely a very interesting mix of good art and quote unquote good art in this game, though.
You've got a reward.
Is this enough? Yep.
You are the winner of
Okay, we pulled that one back. That could have gone real wrong. Okay. So you definitely want to do a decent bit with murder, then.
the true winner is determined.
Which, there's a sentence right there. Okay. Just makes you leave. Ooh. Okay. Spectres are funny, but they can backfire real bad if they roll low. Elemental Rage might be worth bringing. I don't remember that card either. Yeah. That's a pretty good item. Don't particularly care about that one. Okay. I really didn't think we were even going to get this far today. I remember this all taking so much longer. But then again, I'm used to losing a lot, too. So that's probably a factor. I don't actually want any of the creatures, I only wanted the item. I'm going to change my mind about the boomerang. I'm going to replace the boomerang with the prismatic wand. The wand is expensive, but it's a game changer if it works out. Yeah, so that takes care of whatever's left over after the zombies are downed. Yes, because those bandits are going to be able to pay you enough to make this worth your while, right? Now, here's where things are going to get complicated. Because this may be prefaced as they're going to fight each other, but what's actually going to happen is all three of us are going to fight. This is going to be our first time having a third player on the board. The good news is they're not working together. This is a rare case of, even though AIs would usually side with each other against the player, they actually follow what the plot is supposed to be indicating, and they will actually be actively trying to sabotage each other. So if we can capitalize on that, this won't be too bad. In my experience, that has not very frequently worked out that way.
Aim for the next fort.
Dream magic.
Now, contrary to our first encounter with Ryvern, we actually are going to be more worried about him than Luthien. At least for most of the game. It can't hurt, because the Reaper form can really be a trump card if things are going sideways.
Aim for the next fort.
Holy word 6.
No, not him, the other one. For some reason, I thought Ryvern was the one that was behind me. Wait, she's ahead of me, isn't? No, she was on the same tile. What? There goes that 5-second memory again, where I immediately forgot that she had already gotten to that tile and gave me money. So that 6 is actually gonna be kind of pointless. If anything, it will help her.
Aim for the next fort.
Though it did put her on a tile that doesn't directly help her, so I suppose it wasn't a total loss.
Aim for the next fort. Make an offering to your god.
Yeah, this is a map where the stock market's going to come into play, though. Buying and selling symbols. Well, that's upsetting. Yeah, sure, you can have your $20 back.
Holy word 0.
I mean, that's generally what it's meant to be, so that works out.
Aim for the next fort.
Also, being made to only move 0 is an upsetting turn of events.
Aim for the next fort.
Because I'm pretty sure the situation has not really changed. This fight is still not really winnable for me. I could get up to 50 attack. Wait, no. No. It's got HP equals 30, so I can win this. Even more so if I do this.
Woodfall. Vision.
I'm gonna hedge my bets though and send the Minotaur with him. Yeah, and that's what the bet hedging was for, because I couldn't remember what the statistics on the Morning Star were.
The offense defeated the enemy.
I assume you needed a lot of Reaper energy generation because it more or less ended up being you would always just be able to get it back as soon as it wore off.
Make an offering to your god.
We're gonna go ahead and buy into red symbols early. Whether that'll pay off or not is a whole other animal, but it might. At the very least, it's less money they can steal from us through means other than directly attacking me. Because it's at this point in the game that I was talking about before where you want to keep minimal money on hand. I'd say the Crucible's build dependent to a degree. There are some ways of going about it that will go really a lot worse. Look at these amazing rolls. Look how fast I'm going. No one's gonna be able to catch me.
Aim for the next fort. Make an offering to your god.
Anybody right next to something unpleasant? No. One moment. Ah, okay, that's why my notifications were going crazy. Okay. There we go. I've not really done many laps, but I'm also super broke, so I should do this anyway. 50 ain't much, but it may be the difference between having to mortgage a spot and not having to mortgage a spot. This is not worth fighting. Also, get used to that face. She's gonna be making that face this whole match.
Good luck to your next journey.
Of course, he'll be making that face a lot, too.
Aim for the next fort.
This usually turns into one of them is a threat, and the other one's just the punching bag for the whole rest of the group.
Aim for the castle. You've got a
Kind of hoping that Luthien becomes the punching bag, because she would be more dangerous if she has a lot of money. So if I can just keep her from having money, that would be great. Now, this is another 20 cost tile. There's no point in trying to fiddle my way around that.
card for par. Aim for the castle. You've got a reward.
Okay.
To your next journey.
Yeah, because you only really need the Blade Talisman in short bursts if you want to get anything out of it. Really only ends up staying on if you just don't feel like switching that much.
Aim for the next fort.
Perfect. And that's why I raised the cost of that. I mean, you can never go wrong with more Reaper energy.
Succubus.
Ah, okay. Oh, good, yes. Make Luthien have less money. Yeah, as long as your Reaper form hasn't been left to get it weaker instead of stronger, it always has a chance to be worthwhile. Which I can't really think of too many ways you can really let it lag behind too badly. Let's just keep Riverin going slow. It does mean he'll land on his own tile, which not exactly what I want, but I can think of worse things. Now, come on, roll a 4. Damn it. She's instead going to land in front of me again. But yeah, being able to feed money off of both of them is a real easy way for this to go well. But unfortunately, one AI can end up feeding the other just as well. Which is what's happening right now, kind of. I'm kind of raising red in both areas, but I'm just gonna push this up a little bit more. Because I want to say the higher symbol value you have, it also raises the tolls on tiles of that type. That's got 80 health. I don't remember how many things were destroyed, but I don't think enough things were for that to get ahead of what the Woodfolk can do. Actually, no, it would almost certainly be ahead because I can use the Soul Collector's bonus and then the sword on top of that. But does that go higher than 80? The answer is no, because even if, say for example 4 things have been destroyed so far, which is a conservative number, it probably was more than that, then I would have 70. But I also really shouldn't tank a 160 lost. Look. But if I spend money and then take the 160 on top of it, this is going to end really badly for me. I'm going to risk it. I'm going to regret risking this, but I'm going to risk this. Because there has been a lot of fighting, but I don't know if there's been enough fighting. And he's got armor. Damn it. Nope. Ooh, I have miscalculated this horribly. We are in a problem right now. We are about to lose a bunch of territory. Because he steals 100 from me first, and then I'm gonna get hit with 160. We owe 218. Thankfully, it's not too bad. That's what having throwaway land is for. I didn't want to give up the symbols, but it was a better choice than giving up more than one land right now. Because I can easily get the symbols back. I desperately need to start hitting him for money, though, or I'm going to fall way behind. I mean, I would assume you'd probably want at least a little bit of a mix here and there anyway to compensate for any shortfalls you have, but in terms of keeping the Reaper mode going as much as possible, it does make sense that you'd want to just focus on all Reaper energy.
Aim for the castle. You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
Right. Harvest being more in one go, but murder being probably more useful overall.
Aim for the castle. You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey. Aim for the next port.
Wow, I just have a long stretch of nothing. Okay. She has chosen to... Oh, wait, no, that's a Riven territory. Okay, that makes more sense. It looked for a second there like she had chosen to drought one of her own tiles, and I was about to really question what was happening.
Magic bolt.
Rude.
Aim for the next port.
It's also probably ultimately not gonna matter. So I don't know why he threw Magic Bolt at the thing with probably the most health. Okay. I also just have Cure sitting in my hand that was probably never gonna otherwise get used. Meh.
Holy word 0.
Aim for the next port. Aim for the castle. You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
It's not like I wanted to go anywhere anyway. Though I don't rightly know why she made me stand still on one of his tiles, rather than saving it for when she was going to have the opportunity to do that herself. Oh well.
Make an offering to your god.
This is becoming a bad habit.
Discard your card.
So unless you're planning on investing in Harvest, I suppose you'd be better off with Murder just across the board. Though you'd still want to invest a decent amount in Murder, too, so... Either one ends up involving a decent amount of cost.
Weakness.
Aim for the next port.
Okay, so he's got a mixed chance here. If it turns into a Tyrannosaurus, it could be a problem. But it's probably going to turn into a giant rat. Of course it transformed into the Tyrannosaurus. But it doesn't matter because the damage gets cut in half. And it makes sense, yeah, you'd want both just so you have both available.
Discard your card. Make an offering to
This way, no matter which one's on cooldown, you can still get you. Actually, I don't think those technically go on cooldown necessarily, but the idea is right. Yeah. This way, no matter the situation, you can keep the amount of energy up.
aim for the next port. Discard your card.
Hmm. Number of deals times 10. Nah, I'm not gonna try to fiddle with that.
Discard your card. Aim for the castle.
Magic bolt.
I feel like we've been here before. He magic bolts it, I heal, he magic bolts it again, and now he loses a pile of money.
Discard your card.
Probably not. Because I don't think the game really accounts for you having reperform a long time. Pretty sure it's primarily meant to be used and then dismissed.
You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey. Aim for the next port.
That doesn't, of course, stop anybody from doing exactly what you're describing. But some parts of the game may not necessarily understand that.
Make an offering to your god. Aim for the next port. Discard your card.
Okay, we want that prismatic wand. I'm not really landing on places I can make use of it, so we'll get rid of the wall stone.
You've got a reward.
Well,
Good
it's
luck.
time to do battle with corn. It's got 70 health. Yeah. I mean, it never has to be the optimal way to play. It just has to be an interesting way to go about it. Ideally, I'd want to use either the gargoyle or the gas cloud so I can use the prismatic wand to fight it. The problem is if he owns any armor, any at all, we're going to lose. Yeah. I'm gonna send the gargoyle. This is when I did the math wrong and I don't have enough money to use the wand. Okay. We at least didn't make... And he's got armor. Nope. God damn it. We're about to lose all of the money we stole from him. And we're gonna lose the territory because I wasted this money. Wait, no, he chose poorly. Wait, what? Oh, no. Never mind. Sometimes I read the wrong meters. Okay. Good news, we didn't end up losing any territory. Bad news, he has all that money back again. Yeah, trying to play that style straight in that game does get a lot more complicated. You generally need at least a little bit of magic backing you.
Aim for the castle. You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey. Aim for the next port.
No, 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 no.
Aim for the next port.
I've really got to stop landing on their stuff, because at this rate, we're not going to have any control over the map, and that's going to be what sinks us on this one. Because at this point, we are pretty much relying on them landing on the handful of territories we've got to dig us out of this hole. And yeah, pretty much, if you weren't using any active magic, you'd still want as many buffs as you can to keep yourself in that.
Magic bolt.
Is there anything I can just straight up kill? If there's nothing I can kill, I'm going to hit that stupid will-o-wisp, I think. So... Ooh, I can get that corn real close to death, actually. That's a good idea. Now, if I could just get there and kill it, that would be fantastic.
Make an offering to your god.
Pretty sure I can take this. Because its health is going to default down. I... You know... Sometimes I can just be a genius. I used literally the one thing I shouldn't use against Vision, because Vision is protected against wind. And I read that. I completely read that and just blanked on the fact that I was about to do that. Yeah, because that would be a good opener or a good way out.
Discard your card.
Bandit. Zombie.
Yeah, Harvest kind of just fits in anywhere.
Aim for the next fort. Aim for the castle.
Fly.
I need everyone to suffer some catastrophic misfortune.
Aim for the next
Because if he doesn't suffer any kind of misfortune
you're gone.
soon, he's going to have gotten far enough ahead that I can't catch him.
Aim for the next fort.
And right now, he's rolling well enough that I don't see that happening. The only other big play I can do is stealing that corn field out from under him. Or I just kill the corn. Yeah, actually, I don't get to take the territory as easily. But if I kill the corn now, that tanks his money. Yeah, you'd certainly want to prioritize HP on hit. And to keep you in. Yeah, he's gonna get paid 200, but that's gonna tank his value a fair bit. Since that was the most expensive territory he had. I don't remember if the territory retains value if you don't take it immediately. I feel like it will, but I don't remember.
You've got a reward
So it becomes a game of who happens to land there first.
journey. Aim for the next fort.
Yeah, you'll both be your own main source of damage, and you're only going to have so much reach, so you need to be able to stay in there and stay alive doing it. I mean, I could always hope I draw a fly. Damn it. I don't know if I can kill this. It's got 7... Oh, I don't have enough money to try to kill it, so this is gonna set us even further back. We might be out of this game.
Anti-elements.
If I wasn't broke, I could make great... Yes! Perfect! She just gave me back my own money a twofold. That is actually going to turn this around immediately.
Good luck to your next journey.
Okay. Whew. I keep thinking it's over, and then it stops being over. Okay, so if I roll a 1, it's okay. Because that's only got 40 health now, because it doesn't have any territory effects backing it. So I want this, because it'll be a 50-50. And then I'll go up to 80 with the sword, and then I'm gonna hope that he does not have enough armor to get beyond 80.
Coin flip.
Oh, right, because I used 2 cards. But it's okay because it's 70 to 70 and I win anyway. He gets paid, but I take away a very expensive property. Again. Yeah, you'd want the Wrath to actually be able to afford to cast things. Okay, I think we might actually be in the lead now. No, not quite. We've definitely tipped the scale, but we've not tipped it over yet. Yeah, because you never want to not have any HP on hit. Did I? Oh, no. Hello, reversal of fortune again. It's fine, I have plenty of money to give back. It's still sad. I was really hoping I was about to land on the once was a cornfield. Okay. That works for me. That further increases my value too. Yeah. In the end, it saves you a huge amount on resources. Not to mention saving you a ton of time because you don't have to worry about going and getting more. Do I have enough to upgrade this? No. I would only be able to exchange or level. That's not worth it. Because there is something to be said for builds that are so efficient you don't need to expend resources. Yeah. I can't imagine when that happens. Okay, that's put her firmly in third for now. I've never seen mine used. Huh. That's different. Hmm. That works really well for what you're setting up, I would assume. That's a good amount. Probably not the highest you can get, but that's still pretty good. Though I'm actually not sure what the highest crit chance you can get to is, offhand. Yeah, I don't want him having that thief hand. Good, good. Keep investing, keep investing. I genuinely can't track where this match is going anymore. That'd be a sensible cap. But it'd be really funny if they would let you get up to 100. Or at least close. Oh, absolutely. But I would be figuring that you'd only get to that point toward the very end of the game, where it wouldn't really matter that much.
Aim for the next fort.
But if there's just a in-engine hard cap, then yeah, it would just
Make an offering.
be that way. That's true. New Game Plus is something to take into account for that. He's got 60... Eh. I mean, after you do enough trips through New Game Plus, you probably steamroll everything anyway, because you've just hit a ridiculous level. Or does the level not carry over into New Game Plus? I don't remember.
Emblem succubus.
Giant rat. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Then yeah, that could scale to insanity if you sit there and do enough trips. So one way or the other, you're going to become a broken mess after enough New Game Plus trips. There we go. Now they're starting to crab bucket down at the bottom. They're taking each other apart. I was terrified of rolling a 1. Because if I had to fight that will-o-wisp, that was going to be a serious issue. But now every tile I have will take a massive amount off. Yes, but it's fogged. Damn it. Oh no, that's fine. It only took it down to half. That's still more money than she has. So she's basically taken herself off the table. Right. You will be lacking in some traversals and things like that, so that you can't just skip ahead. But then you're literally just going flag to flag, essentially, at that point. Actually, no, get rid of the wolf. I want to fly because I'm pretty sure the cap's 8,000 here, so if I get to the end, we win. If my reward's high enough. Yes! Whew! Stole that one out from under them. That could have gone so much worse. Yeah. It's always good to vary it up.
The true winner is determined.
Yeah, I was behind a lot in that one. By rights, I should have lost that, but luck just happened to work out. Yeah, that's the health of equivalent of the other run. Yeah, this is one you want on a map that has symbols, but if you don't have a symbol place on the map, this thing is useless. I might want to take Fire Explosion at this point. Because we do end up dealing with a bunch of water opponents. And I don't use any water. And haste will probably be worth considering. And of course, the mistake they're making here is assuming that the other sages aren't compromised just like this sage is. But we also don't really have other options, so... I want Blackout. We'll get rid of one copy of Fly. Holy Word 6 can go away in favor of Fire Explosion. Because if I can just sit there and table their cards every turn, then we don't have to worry about them snowballing value ahead of us. This will likely be last map of the night, though. Starting to feel it a bit, having worked for 5 hours after getting up earlier than I normally do. You just don't give up, do you? I gotta admire his consistency. Also, this happens. This is a thing. Yeah, now we get to fight River and the Rabid. Which is why this is going to be the last fight of the night, because this is going to take quite a while. Just like the last one did. Yeah, and this is our first encounter with neutral territory. As Skolagon explained, doesn't do much for you, but it's cheap to change. And just enjoy the music here. Oh, you little bastard. It's so close to a tower and he's gonna make me go backwards. I'm sure he thinks he's really funny. Oh, guess I'm going this way now.
Aim for the next fort.
That would make sense, yeah, because you don't really have to worry about how fragile death is initially. And it probably has the highest damage potential early on. Presumably because it'd be relying on health potions because you don't have any of the sustainability stuff available yet. I'm certainly making a mess of what is getting placed where because of how they're getting drawn, but I'm just going to keep throwing things on the table anyway. Makes sense, because there's a fair bit of crossover in what skills are used in each of them, so it would make sense for them to not be too far apart. It really ends up just coming down to what style you want to be using, rather than, oh, you have to use this or you will die a miserable death. Yeah. If you don't have at least decent gear by the time you get later on, I don't know what you've been doing. Whatever it is was not a good choice. Just one moment. That would be a worthwhile place to farm a bit, yeah. Not too difficult to do either. Let's see if I can cause some chaos with that shrine. I would say that's probably true. I'm sure there's a couple other good ones. Yeah, they just might be later enough than where you can get access to the Crucible that the Crucible may still be better for you overall.
Fire giant. Dwarf.
Oh, and I think I may have just realized why the games looked odd now and then. I just realized it's been stretched a little bit horizontally this whole time.
The offense defeated
It's not a significant thing, but only just now catching that.
Make an offering to your god. Discard your
I
card.
forgot I had this scene set to stretch to fit instead of show exact.
Aim for the castle. Discard your card.
Mana.
Aim for the castle.
If he has any armor or anything, this is gonna backfire, but may as well get some cards out of my hand. Nope, he has armor. Dang it. Oh well. It's not a big loss, and it does chip away at the golem a bit.
The defense was too strong. Discard your card.
Ice storm.
You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
This is a map that takes a long time to get to the goal, so you need to not rely on gold money.
Golem. Sorcerer.
Interesting. He's just coming after me, huh? You can have that, buddy. It doesn't matter. So all he's doing is making his golem weaker, since it loses 10 health and attack every time it is involved in a combat.
Defeated the enemy.
So that's definitely a decision I don't entirely understand.
Make an offering to your god. You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
Okay, we've got a good amount of money. Let's immediately circle right back down. I could have put a bonus on the Minotaur, but I think it's better to cover a bit more ground right now. Though in hindsight, probably should have made the Minotaur stronger since it took a bunch of damage from the Ice Storm. Just have to wait and see how that plays out. Okay, that'll help.
Fly.
As long as I roll not terrible. That's pretty good. 15 is workable.
Make an offering to your god. Aim for the next fort.
Of course he's stealing from me. Why wouldn't he take more money from me?
Make an offering to your god.
Well, that's vaguely helpful, except not really. Considering it's the area that nothing fire is in. I'm just gonna go ahead and take the hit in order to upgrade the Minotaur. So I'm way behind on value right now. Of course, we spent most of the last game way behind on value until we exploded anyway, so... Oh, you bastard. And that's the risk with putting weak creatures down on the board, or to this stage of the game. They have a bad habit of dying. It's got 50 health. I can certainly reach 70. He might have armor. It's only 16.
Discard your card.
Turn to the wall.
Make an offering to your god.
Need to start putting River in his place, so let's get rid of those nunchucks. As long as I can keep him without any equipment, we can start whittling him down by making him pay tolls or lose territory.
Make an offering to your god.
Just really need Pickett to play ball with that idea.
Aim for the castle.
That makes the fire giant more dangerous too, but I think this is a better idea.
Aim for the next fort.
It couldn't hurt to stock up a little bit and maybe grab a level or two before trying to finish it. And if you're still having trouble with it.
Aim for the next fort.
Wereborn. Armadillo.
The battle was drawn.
Potentially, yeah. Though some of that may get replaced pretty quickly by what you find in that dungeon.
You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
good. He's already casting the spell I was planning on casting. Now I just need to draw my fire explosion immediately afterwards, and that's gonna shut Picket down pretty hard for a bit. Though it is bad that Riven's gonna be able to capitalize on at least one of those.
The offense defeated the enemy.
And now he's getting a nice chain going, which is a problem. Nope, no fire explosion for me. I could go after the mummy. I don't want to go down there and fight the wall of stone because that ain't gonna work out. See that, or I go back down. The mummy's got what, like 50 health? Let's just not and say we did.
Discard your card.
Remora. Hand.
Okay. Not sure what that hammer does, so it may do a terrible thing to me. Ah, critical hit. Yep, we were hosed no matter what I did. I shouldn't have bothered. And it broke a longsword. You little fuzzy bastard. No, you won because of that hammer. Don't mix a strong will and a big hammer up. It's two very different things.
Good luck to your next journey. Make an offering to your god.
Dang it. So that'll work.
Aim for the castle. Make an offering to your god.
Magic bolt.
Is there anything I could just out and out kill? I can get rid of the amoeba, which would be kind of nice. Yeah, let's cut into Picket's money a bit. Because there was nothing particular I wanted to throw two magic bolts at, so I wasn't going to be able to set up one this turn and then hit it again.
You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
So if this round keeps at this pace, I may not even finish
Aim for the
it tonight. I can definitely feel the energy just going, you know what? Not here anymore, gone.
Magic bolt.
Now, this is the most dangerous thing on the table right now. I need to weaken it.
discard your card. Make an offering to your god.
That is certainly a thing. And now it's a spider. Okay. That fight certainly happened.
Battle withdrawn. Discard your card. You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey. Make an offering to your god. Aim for the castle. Make an offering to your god. Discard your card. Discard your card. Discard your card.
Ooh.
Discard your card. You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey. Discard your card. Aim for the next fort. Discard your card. Discard your card. Make an offering to your god. Discard your card.
I could have went for that, but I could not remember if they had armor, and I was betting they did. I've made the gamble of do they have armor too many times at this point. And now we've seen the mine in action.
Discard your card.
Is there somewhere currently I want to turn into fire? Actually. Yes. Yes, there is. Just what I can do is sabotage this wall of stone. Then if I land on the wall of stone, I can potentially take it out and get into very pricey territory. I just don't want to land on it right now. I should have went the other way. I miscalculated how much money I had left.
You don't have enough magic power.
That's unfortunate.
Card for card. Card for card. Aim for the next fort. Card for card. Make an offering to your god. Card for card. Aim for the next fort. Card for card.
This is a bit of a gamble. But I need to slow, well, at least one of them down. So if Riven can't take tolls for 2 turns, that keeps me from having to worry about some of his nastier territories. At least for a bit. And it'll hopefully give us a chance to shake him down for some money
Card for card.
without him being able to return the favor.
Make an offering to your god.
Though, given the fact that he's now buying symbols, I think he knows what game's being played right now. So he's just gonna pitch all of his money so he can't and lose it as easily. Joke's on him, though. I wouldn't mind if he loses territory instead.
Card for card.
And that's exactly the situation I was hoping to avoid.
Card for card. Card for card.
And of course I draw that now, huh? Okay. I don't think there's that many water creatures left on the board right now, though. And to make matters worse, they all belong to Picket and not Riven, so it doesn't really help me. Spite Bomb, why not?
Fire explosion.
You've got a reward. Good luck to your next journey.
Which, in hindsight, does mean I can actually go capitalize on it immediately and take out that Remora. Problem with that idea is that's not exactly a big gain. But gains are gains. I'll take what I can get. And he's too broke to defend himself, so I didn't even need to use the wand.
The offense defeated the enemy. Hard will hard.
But yeah, considering I'm sitting at 2K, the next best is Riven with 4.5, and the goal is like 8 or 9,000. This is not getting finished within the hour. So I'm going to go ahead and call it here for tonight. Before I fall asleep in my chair. Thank you, Esben, and you as well. Well, when you get ready to go. Let's see, is there anybody currently going that I can send everyone on to? Not that I'm seeing at the moment. So I won't push for a raid this time. So thank you all for coming out. Even more so everyone that's stuck around through some iffy moments here and there. But either way, I wish you all a good night, and those who celebrate, have a happy Thanksgiving.